Hello and welcome to round 12 of the Acuta AOSC Super Series live on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me is Daniel Lee. Scott Newton on the cameras today. We're here in Georgia at Road Atlanta. It's a proper classic, this one, Daniel, and it's a good place to host this fifth to final round of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, Sam, to all the viewers tuning in. Great to have you back again with us. And I mean, yeah, you summed it up pretty nicely. It's a great little circuit, provides a lot of challenges for these drivers, some really blind corners that they're going to have to negotiate, and a couple of big stop braking points that they're going to have to deal with as well, and some really good passing opportunities. So I think, pretty much everything that the guys will.
Absolutely. Big thanks to all the sponsors in this series, of course, making this championship possible. Acuta Solutions, providing the rigging hardware and safety equipment. Next Level Racing, doing racing and flight cockpits, and also provided a direct drive, it's a rig to your driver last time out, I believe. Abritzy Raceware, doing custom sim racing and real racing gear. Motum Simulations, you have VR racing centres all around Australia. Night Rider Designs, creating personal liveries for drivers and teams. Wolf Graphics, doing personalised stickers and signs. Sam Blacklock Media, we'll be doing the race highlight photos. Check that out on the AOSC Facebook page after the race, and also race management service for helping out with the sessions going up and the live race control as well. Big thanks to all those. Thanks to the stewards. Thanks for all the drivers, and thanks for you for tuning in. It's going to be a pretty exciting day of racing. We have got 150 kilometers of action, 36 laps around this track, but at the moment we're in a qualifying session, a 20-minute qualifying session, of which we have got 6 minutes remaining. So a pretty short circuit this, Daniel, but it's pretty difficult to absolutely nail a lap. You were saying earlier on how we got a lot of elevation change. It's a very tricky circuit, this, with the elevation. Also very narrow in parts as well, in this first part of the circuit in particular. So narrow, and you really got to thread the needle through. It's so satisfying when you get it right, but it's very easy to get it wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for the guys that are able to get on top of it, get the setups dialed in where they need to be, the times are showing very, very consistently. Just up until a few moments ago, we had our top 6 covered by 0.6 of a second. So, 0.06 of a second. Absolutely nothing between them at all. And we're just seeing now James Scott starting to edge a little further ahead, just set down an 18.45 provisionally. So 0.2 quicker at the moment over Andrew Gilliam, who had a great run out last event at Phillip Island. But Scott really starting to stretch the legs in that ERT car now.
The points in the championship, by the way, you can see on your screen, James Scott, there he is, a long way ahead. Drop scores will make that closer. James Scott there with a 1,000-point lead, but it is close with the drop scores. Jordan Ross in second place. Then it's Harley Haber. He's been a little bit up and down. Ross has been very consistent. Haber a bit more up and down. Has won a couple of races, but has also retired from a couple of races very recently as well. Carl Stokes there in fourth. Andrew Gilliam perhaps is the main challenger. Hasn't done 2 races, Gilliam, and so when you take into consideration the drop scores, he very much brings himself back into play. Do you think Scott's driving will change yet, Daniel? Do you think he'll be thinking, all I've got to do... I mean, if he finishes 10th in every race from now to the end of the season, dare I say that might be enough, except maybe if one of his rivals goes and wins every single race. That's pretty unlikely with the competitiveness of the field. As long as he's consistent and finishes every race, he should be alright. Do you think that will play on his mind, or do you think he'll be still going for the race wins as it has done for the rest of the season?
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see James still pushing on just as hard as ever. I think, from a racing standpoint, the minute you start easing up that little bit, you relax, thinking you can, you make a second or a third here and there. That's when the incidents start to creep into your driving style. So for Scott, it'll be hammer down, keep pushing, try and get those points. And just cementing what he's done throughout the course of this championship. I mean, very dominant right at the beginning, and he's been extremely consistent right the way through, with maybe that one exception at Belle Isle where the engine let go on him. But other than that, it's been a pretty faultless run, and I think he'll continue on that formula. It seems to be working extremely well for him. That being said, the guys that are a little bit further down, they've got absolutely everything to play for, and I'm sure we'll start seeing the elbows come out a little bit more as they press on, especially as we start counting down to the end of this championship season.
We want to get into the top 30 in particular. Just for a little bit of clarification. If you finish in the top 30 in the championship, then for the opening rounds of next season, which I'm sure the vast majority of these drivers will be attending as well, you automatically get into this top split. So we've got 2 splits today. Sometimes we have even more than 2 splits because of the popularity of this championship. And so if you can finish in the top 13 in the championship, then that's really going to help again that top split. That's where the big points are available. If you finish outside the top 8, then it can become very tricky to get into the top split. By the way, there was also pre-qualifying before today's race, where once again the top 30 in the championship so far have all got through to this top split automatically, but everyone else had to qualify their way in. So only like mega competitive drivers are in this split, so it should be extremely close. Andrew Gilliam takes pole position. That happened just a few moments ago. He is 2/100ths of a second ahead of James Scott, who had opened up a little bit of a gap in qualifying, but the others are really pushing him hard. Jordan Ross, that's a strong third place for Ross. He's usually faster in the races than he is in qualifying. So these are some big times being set as James Scott puts himself back to the top of the standings, 1/10 of a second clear. Purple first sector and a few personal bests as well later on. However, 2 more minutes to go. The drivers can complete the lap that they start when the timer goes down. There's still time for others to challenge, and there are 5 or 6 drivers who could perhaps challenge him for that top step on the grid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're just seeing Jordan Ross starting to set up for his final assault on the lap. Adam Briggs coming across the line at the moment improves pretty nicely, actually jumps up into 12th position, so that's a good run from him. Still about 0.6 of a second off what we're seeing from the likes of our current provisional leader in James Scott, so a little bit of work left on the table there for him to do. Rob Bowden, who was the winner of that Director of Wheelbase from Next Level Racing, he's looking pretty good at the moment, down in 33rd position, and not yet improved his time so far.
Here comes Gilliam across the line. He will have one more attempt to go, and that's it for Gilliam then. So he just stops out on the circuit. That's not going to be pole position for him. Has some good momentum after Belle Isle. Winning that round, pretty much finished on the podium every race that he's done so far this season. But was finished 3rd place last time out at Phillip Island when Scott won comfortably. Here's Haber across the line. Can he move himself up? No, it's only 7th place for Haber at the moment, but he's got another lap to go as long as he's got the fuel and the tyres to do so. And here's James Scott. Could he go even faster? This is his out lap, to be fair. But he's lining up for another one. Wants to make a little bit of a gap just in front of him before he launches another one. As McKee moves us up into 5th place. That's a strong lap for him.
Yeah, Jordan Ross coming across the line to complete a lap here. Doesn't improve, currently still sitting down in that 3rd spot, but with another, no, going to abort that lap, so that'll be his run done there, and we'll keep an eye for a few more guys crossing the line. Next, Ruben Goodall having a good run down in 18th at the moment. Plenty of work for him to do if he wants to pull that car a little bit further up the order, and not quite able to do it.
No, he's not quite been able to improve that time. Jack Boyd, who did great last time out at Philippine, I believe he got 2nd place, dare I say, at Philippine last time. Was a superb drive. Currently in 8th, which is no mean feat. Would like to be a little bit further, I guess, to replicate that success down under last time. Harley Haber also improving some sectors, but see the times are not changing too much. The track, I think, is getting warmer and warmer, and that just means that slowing down. Boyd does move himself up into 5th place late, so that's a really good effort from him. And what can James McKee, he is in 6th. Scott improves on his final sector, however, it's quite a bit slower than his best time there, so no improvement for Scott right there. I wonder if you could just get the weather up, because the drivers really weren't improving a whole lot by the end of that. There you are. So yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so the track should be getting cooler as the session goes on, but 36 degrees track, not too bad for these drivers. Seeing that can get as high as 50 on iRacing. That won't be too much of an issue for them, but it's just another pole position, it seems, for James Scott, Daniel. I mean, he's been dominant this season. He hasn't been dominant in qualifying, though. I think he's got maybe pole in maybe a 3rd of the races so far this season, but in recent rounds, he's stepped it up even further. Belle Isle, front row of the grid. Phillip Island, pole by a couple of tenths. Today, pole position by a tenth, which is, I mean, large compared to the rest of the field. I mean, that seems to be an area which he's really improved on as the season's gone on, which makes him an even more accomplished driver.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's all really starting to come together for him in this final run towards the flag. But I mean, starting in pole is going to give him every opportunity, and if he keeps the consistency off, he's in the best spot now, going off from the lights here. Can't expect any more than that. But it looks like everyone's lining up, so we'll be able to start running through the grid order and see where all your favourite drivers are stacking up tonight.
Gonna be a tricky start for these guys from a standing start. Oh, you're gonna be lining up obviously at the chicane. It's gonna be mad. James Scott on pole position then, 1 tenth to a second ahead of Andrew Gilliam. Long run down though into that turn where he can overtake on the inside and the outside. John Ross and Brady Mars lines up on the second row of the grid. Then it's Jack Boyd, James McKee, Sam Sutton, Harley Haber, Sean Lindsdale, Craig Jones, Nick Coulson, Tom Freer, Adam Briggs, Carl Stokes, Jack Widders, Bo Albert, Michael Taliancic, Kenneth Latter, Ruben Goodall, Marlon McMullen, Jamie Stovald, Jamie McKnight, Bradley Ratsu, Ian Bird, Ross Rizzo, Reese Keane, Damien Johnston, Christian Smart, Scott Gamble, and Brian Borg. That's the top 30. The rest of the order will go through for you. Just seeing if there's any kind of top drivers a little bit further down. Maybe Matt Morris. Watch out for him from 40th place. He might be one to watch out for. But on the most part, the front guys are at the front, which is what we want to see. We want to see them battling it out. It should be a terrific 150 kilometers of racing. Remember, James Scott from the pole position. Championship leader, of course. And he's got everything to lose from that place. Gilliam, his possibly main rival, alongside him on the front row. What can Ross and Myers do from 3rd and 4th position? Strong qualifying for them. Could perhaps overtake midway around this lap. Of course, overtaking opportunities down at turn 10 in particular, if you can get into the draft. And hopefully we don't see any incidents through the S's bends right at the start of the lap as the drivers go into single file. So, I think the remaining drivers just lining up on the grid. And we are very soon going to get the lights on. Here we are, James Scott from the pole position. And we are away for 36 laps of Road Atlanta. Scott with a very strong start. Gilliam's going to be under pressure from Ross going into turn 1, but Scott with a almost completely clear line. Ross puts his car down the inside and he moves comfortably up into 2nd place. Poor start for Gilliam. Good start for Haber to get past Sutton straight away. Poor start for Craig Jones, dropping outside the top 10 with 3 places lost. But that was perfect there from Ross. He just positioned his car on the inside and straight away gets past his rival.
Yeah, really good jump there. Seeing a little bit of too wide action as the guy swooped down the hill for the first time. And all in all, not too bad a start. I did see one car rotating off the exit of turn 12 there as they were getting underway, but no other people involved in that. So everyone back away, and James Scott out front, starting to build a little bit of breathing room. He's got Jordan Ross right in behind him. Andrew Gilliam, unfortunately, dropping down a place from the start. A little further back, though, Haber now up 2 spots, finds himself into 6th. So a few of the quicker guys starting to work their way up early on in the piece.
Really good start actually for Haber then. So he got past Sutton straight away. Not sure how he got past McKee, but well, he's done that. And now he might even have a chance at another place as Myers and Boyd go side by side. Haber's going to maybe make up a 3rd position on this opening lap. He's got his car on the inside. He's got track position surely. And he has done it all very slow for the driver ahead. Oh, and it's caused big problems right in the middle of the circuit there. Was Andrew Gilliam with a very strange mistake. And he's going to lose many places. And he's round. He goes. Andrew Gilliam, who's been so consistent so far this season. It's a very unusual mistake for him. Must have been a slowdown perhaps. And to be honest, he didn't get off the racing line. He was very awkward for the drivers behind. And a little bit of contact to send him round.
Yeah, unfortunate that he was able to pull that car up before he got into the barrier on the outside there. We'll get back underway, but it's fallen down a huge way now down the order. He's actually rejoined down in 24th position, so he's got a long way ahead of him to come back through the field. Adam Briggs having a pretty good run, looking down the inside of... Actually, that's Widders right behind Adam Briggs there, having a bit of a look, as Briggs also looking on the back of Craig Jones just ahead. So it's all starting to happen. Taliancic's on a little bit of a move, just a slight wiggle out at turn 11 as he sets off after these guys as well.
always watch out for Tanancic. So much better in the race than he is in qualifying. So good with the tyres is Michael at all times. So he will be very dangerous in 5th place. Carl Stokes, who I believe has won a couple of the team races so far this season, earlier on in the season, when he was part of ERT. But always pretty near the front as Stovall, just ahead of McMullen and Albert. But they get back into single file as we start this lap 3 of the race. A little bit side by side as well, just behind with maybe Rizzo and Bird going at it. So plenty of changes already. It kind of just shows the overtaking ability around this track that turn 10 is almost gaping for you to go for a move with the long straight preceding it.
Yeah, if you can definitely get the draft up, 10's probably the best opportunity on the run here. If you're right on board with Rizzo, works his way through turn 5, runs that exit curve very, very wide. We have seen a lot of cars rotate around through there. Not quite close enough on the run to 6, but actually closes up nicely with that little bit of a braking issue for Christian Smart and teammate Damian Johnson just ahead. So Rizzo setting himself up quite nicely, potential for maybe a couple of spots as they get this long run down towards turn 10 now.
Gilliam almost falling back into these guys right now. He's not making quite the progress that he would have wanted to. It's going to be a big effort from Gilliam if he can get back up into the top 10 side by side. Further up, that was Stovall and McMullen, I think, going side by side. Here is Stovall, McMullen just on the outside. He's almost going to be shoved up by the car number 06, who gets well onto the curve. That was Albert, and now Gilliam will be able to benefit from this one. Just nips his car down the inside. Albert might try to come back, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Bo right there. Oh, not the circuit. It's McKnight. So some of these experienced drivers are making some strange mistakes, and that's McKnight who drops back into this, who had got a pretty good start, and now he's right back into the mix of it.
Yeah, a little uncharacteristic from him there, but one of those spots is quite tricky to do, and we're likely to see a few more guys over the course of this night have issues in that same spot. So the crest into turn 2, for those who are not overly familiar with the circuit, is blind, and trying to hit your apex and get in there while making a pass not going to be the easiest of moves to do. Gilliam looking at pretty decently there on the exit. A little further up, Nick Coulson coming under a fair bit of fire here. He's got just putting a move on Craig Edwards right behind Adam Briggs in that DPR car as they go down almost 3 wide into turn 10. Not where you want to be, but
oh, and off goes Jones.
Yeah, Briggs
miles
not
off
able
the
to
track.
pull that up.
Oh, and that's going to be a tricky rejoin. We saw issues earlier on for Gilliam getting a slow down at this part of the circuit. But Coulson benefits massively from that, up into 10th place now for him. And Taliancic as well benefiting just behind him, Mitsu as well. Latza as well, and stakes up into 12th place. So, so many instances. If you're keeping it clean, then slowly gonna move your way up the order. And yeah, James and Biggs dropping down to 15th and 16th after that impact.
Yeah, and it looks like James was able to get that car back in front. Oh, sorry, Greg was able to get back in front of Briggs. So I'm sure stewards will still maintain a view on that, but seeing that the redress did happen, probably not too bad. Ratu, though, pushing hard to try and close that gap on the DPR racer of Adam Briggs there. So EXG a little further down, but I mean, you can say a little further down. He's already jumped 6 spots so far from the start of this race. We're only 5 laps into it, potentially setting up for another run here.
Jack Boyd has just got past Harley Haber for 3rd place. Although actually they're changing back. Haber's got back past Boyd then, I think, going through the final corner. And Haber, yeah, maintaining that place at the moment. That's up in P3 at the moment. Here they are. So that was a good defense for Haber as he gets on a big side. They're now 3 seconds off Scott and Ross, who are running away with this one at the moment. And if anything, they might fall back into the clutches of McKee and Sutton. But this is strange for Haber, who wasn't particularly impressive in qualifying. Maybe that was a sign they hasn't quite got the pace today, because he has beaten Scott and in particular Ross as well many times this season on absolute pace. Summit Point was a good example of that. But today, just not quite there, and he's looking like he's only the 4th or 5th fastest driver outside.
Yeah, maybe something to do with the setup. Maybe looking just to have the tyres come back in a little further on. Obviously, the guys tonight do need to come down the lane, make a stop and get back underway. So expect them all to take tyres at this point, but just struggling a little bit. You can see that nice run for Boyd though, down the inside, pretty clean textbook run, down into 10A, breaks the car nice and late, across the nose, good exit through 10B, and sets off over the hill for the final run down through turn 12. So the Jack Boyd car looking very, very good at the moment for Gone Rogue Motorsport. The team definitely been stepping up, but Haber's certainly not going to let him go.
Out in the lead, 8 tenths between Scott and Ross. This is one of the best races I think Ross has put together all season long. Has been very strong in the team race. Got certainly that that 143 car got a podium at Spa. Not sure if they got any maybe a podium as well at Daytona. I think they may have got 2nd place on that occasion. So they've been really good so far this season, has Ross in the team races, but in the individual races, maybe a little bit further down. Consistent, he's 2nd place in the championship, but not too many podiums for him. Right now, that looks comfortable, and maybe a race win could be on the cards as well. He's just staying within the slipstream at the moment, getting a little bit of a waft from it, and that's kind of keeping him within that 1 second.
Yeah, and I think he'd just be saving that little bit extra fuel. May look to try and extend the window 1 lap further. So we're looking for these drivers potentially tonight coming in around lap 11 with the window closing around lap 25. We just see Ross run that a little bit wide on the initial turn in. So plenty of opportunity for these guys to come in. We may see a few undercuts from a guys a little bit further down. The likes of Harley Haber potentially try and catapult themselves up a little bit further. But I guess the offset to that, they're going to have to manage those tyres extremely carefully to get the most out of them. So keep an eye just to see how this goes. But this battle for 3rd at the moment, not letting up at all. Both cars a little bit of a slide on the run up the hill, but looking pretty good. And James Mackey closes in, bringing Sam Sutton along for the run as well.
Yeah, this is probably turning into a larger battle now. Seemingly tricky on the brakes for Haber a few laps ago when he locks up the brake, and also Ross on that last lap going into 10A. Just not quite rotating the tyre and just running slightly wide, and that just costs you as well on the exit. Really is a tricky corner, this one as well. Got to be so patient on the throttle, and then really get the car in a straight line before putting the power down. Such tricky cars are these supercars. Possibly the toughest cars on all of iRacing to drive. Certainly the tin tops. And Haber closing that gap a little bit. We've seen that draft effect very powerful down into 10. But it's McKee who looks the fastest out of these guys. And then Freer as well getting on this case. He has been mega in qualifying recently as Freer, but always been very good in the races. Further back, Adam Briggs. He did make contact at this corner earlier on. He is going at it with Jones, who I think he was the Joe who he made contact with. Over to Gilliam, who of course was starting on the front row of the grid. He's caught up to these drivers, and then McMullen, very accomplished driver in this championship, as Gilliam had a look at Ritsu. It's not enough for him. There's so many competitive drivers that even making up these positions is difficult for a driver of Andrew Gilliam's class.
And that's part of the nature of the circuit as well. It doesn't open a lot of opportunities to get a move done, and at the points where you do have it, you've got to be right on the gearbox of these cars in front. I mean, we've seen the Briggs and Jones fight. It's been going on for quite a few laps. There was that a little bit of contact about 5 laps ago where they did get into each other on the run into 10, but trying to get those cars past is going to be absolutely key to moving those positions up. Just see there, Jones gets a little bit of wheel spin on the exit at 7. That's going to really compromise here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Briggs, as he's looking very aggressive here. I reckon he'll get this pass done nice and easily on the run down through 10.
The overspeed's not terrific for him though. Wasn't generating any extra momentum, I guess, because he was in the tow for a very small amount of time. But he does get past once again, a lock up for the pair them, and now Jones is going to lose out to Ritsu, and he'll do well to keep Gilliam behind him. He now has got track position into the final corner. Going around the outside, Gilliam takes that curve on the inside, which really does seem to unsettle the car whenever we've seen drivers use that line. not deliberately, of course, but just squeeze on the inside as another mistake, almost dipping a wheel onto that treacherous curb on the outside of turn 1, and that is a poor couple of corners for Jones, dropping down 3 places. Didn't do a whole lot wrong, but he has lost a lot of track position right there, and he's still sliding that car around. These drivers, not sure if it's maybe their setups, but I swear they're moving around a lot more than we saw at Phillip Island last time out.
Yeah, a lot of movement in all these cars right now, and I think the setup's got to be very compromising to get over these bumps. We don't use a lot of the curb at Phillip Island. It's mostly set up for the stability of those cars. There's another look at that replay with Gilliam had a big lose on the entrance into turn 12 there, and was lucky to regain it without any major issues, but unfortunately comes to a little bit of an issue at the end there. And I think that might have been at the hands of one of the LTC Sports cars, potentially by Albert, as a result of that. So it's left him with a lot of work to do, but he's getting back on with it. To turn our attention back to the front, Jordan Ross just starting to fall behind now on James Scott. That gap, 1.7 seconds. Consistency still very good, but last time by 2/10 slower.
Yeah, I mean, he's comfortably the second fastest driver at the moment is Ross out on circuit, but even that is just not strong enough against James Scott, who really does seem to be in the form of his life right now. Interestingly, looking back at that replay on Gilliam, as we saw a few moments ago, I thought that it was just a case of him picking up a slowdown, but it seemed like he dipped a wheel onto the outside grass and then had a massive slide, and it's just strange that they would have made that mistake, especially on the opening lap. Of course, the tyres are quite cool, but also there's a lack of concentration to take that line, which is an unusual mistake. This is a train and a half. Marlon McMullen is kind of at the front of this. I'd say it probably starts at... apologies, no, this is further up than this, I believe. Oh, yeah, it's kind of McMullen at the front of this then. So Albert, then Stobold, Knight, Rizzo, Johnston, and Rizzo go, or is Rizzo going to gain a place here as they change positions just ahead? McKnight gaining a place there, and Rizzo moving through as well.
See Matt Morris there just trying to get out of the way of this battle. He's a long way down the order already, and we see him actually get split by a couple of cars at Reese Keen, Brian Ball going around. So
Christian Smart off the track, just trying to get past Morris there, I think, and just sliding out off the circuit. And the grass so slippery, of course, with this new tyre model. That's about 5 places lost for him.
Yeah, we'll get back underway, but potentially going to be looking to come in the lane for a stop sooner. Ross Rizzo, though, all over the back of Jamie McKnight and bringing Damien Johnston along. So it's a nice little 3-car fight over that 18th position. Not much in it as they exit through 7 here, but if anything, it's going to put Johnston in a really good spot. Gets the double draft down the back straight, and potentially an opportunity to look at sneaking that nose down the inside of Ross Rizzo. McKnight potentially going to be very, very vulnerable on the exit here.
Both of these guys could be higher up the order, I think. Rizzo up 4 places, McKnight only up 2, but we did see him have that off earlier on, which otherwise he would probably be up ahead of McMullen, I think, at this point. Rizzo tucks his nose down the inside, McKnight's got to leave in space. That was an excellent move there from Ross Rizzo. Really good traction coming out of the chicane. However, perhaps getting past the pair of them here is Johnston, who just has to back out a bit too wide into turn 1. Doesn't usually work out well. That was just them going side by side to the final corner, compromising their momentum. But you can kind of assume this train is going to start to disband a little bit. The fastest guys seem to be at the front of that train now, making their way up. So should be able to start pulling away the likes of Rizzo there. And then we've got this train actually. Jack Widders, he's having a great run. Starting in 15th place, up into the top 10 now. A couple of scrapes on the door of that car, however. Taliancic, who's had good pace so far, up in 12th. And it's Latzer, Briggs and Ritsu. Gilliam onto the back of these guys. He's in 16th place. And if I were Gilliam coming into the pits, there's actually, we might see a move here for Latzer. and Briggs getting past Latta right there. But if I was Gilliam, would you come into the pits? That seems like quite an obvious strategy, just to clear these guys. Don't have to pass them on track, but you can get them with the undercut.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea. We're already starting to see a few drivers head towards the lane now. Harley Haber, Sam Sutton have just come down for their respective stops at the moment. That's actually going to put them in a really nice spot coming back out on track. There's a pretty clear run down that back straight at the moment for when they exit, so they should be good. Briggs probably going to want to get in likewise. We're just seeing behind, they've Brad Ratu all over the back of Kenneth Latta as they run down the hill through 5 quite nicely. Andrew Gilliam also coming through after his earlier issues and finds himself now in 14th, so down still 12 spots from where he started, but it's a good little bit of a recovery drive for him. And for all you viewers tuning in, if you do want to see where the guys are relative on the track, you can also pull up the timing, the SDK gaming app link in the description there, and that'll give you all the available information to see where the drivers are tracking, potentially where they're going to be coming out on the track after their respective pit stops as well. Gilliam, though, with a very nice run down to 10, thinks about sticking the nose out, not quite close enough to get that move done, however.
Just looking at the as Taniancic is in. Ooh, this is strange for Taniancic. Usually he's the one who goes really long in the first stint. Usually has very good tyre conservation. Maybe he does have good tyre conservation, so I was thinking, well, come in at this point in this race and extend the laps for the second stint. You can see there, Greg Sharp, even if he did want to come into the pits, there was no coming into the pits because Knight was on his inside. A little bit of Heifeld, Raikkonen, Silverstone wait takes me back to. But you have got to take that into consideration as well. If you are battling with other drivers, you're not necessarily going to pick what lap you come into. You perhaps going to have to extend it by a lap or maybe even 2. So probably not worth leaving it right to the edge of fuel. However, I think all these drivers have a little bit of spare fuel available, and then I would just change the tyres on the most part for the first pit stop. Here is Rob Foden. I haven't looked at this battle too much with that very nice tanked SRT livery, and Spatch and Thompson in 26th and 27th battles going on all the way down the order. Christian Smart, who of course had that off earlier on, he's in 22nd place at the front of this train. I imagine he should have the pace now to pull away, because he was keeping up with the drivers about 4.5 seconds further ahead of him. He was equal pace with them earlier on.
Yeah, the pace in that car very, very good, and I think we will continue to see him pull away again. Not in the lane this time, so still extending. We have got a few more drivers also coming through for their respective stops. Latta, Ratu, Albert in the lane, Damien Johnson also coming through as well. And for the guys that we saw coming in earlier for their stops, Sam Sutton actually just getting back past them now as they work their way through. So the early stoppers starting to find themselves in a little bit of traffic, but getting back underway. Jack Boyd is now got James Mackey all over him. So Gondrog Motorsport and Pursuit Sim Racing battling over the third position. And this is going to turn into a nice little fight. They have dropped down about 5 seconds from our race lead, but still putting in some very respectable lap times at this point.
So Haber then coming in from third place. Hasn't really worked well for Haber. I'm seeing him with a load of traffic. Oh, as Boyd. That's a bit strange. You almost seem to... I know, he was like defending fresh air right there. Or maybe that's just his racing line, where it's compromising through the final corner. And here comes McKee. This is now for second place, with Ross just coming into the pits. Side by side going into 3. And it's not enough. Boyd hanging on. But Haber came out of the pits in loads of traffic. I mean, he's having to overtake loads of cars right now who are yet to come into the pits. So I don't think the undercut for Haber is necessarily going to work. However, if these guys keep on fighting, then maybe it will work for Haber and the others as well who were involved in that battle. Jordan Ross, by the way, coming out of the pits with an 18-second pit stop. You know what? Ross and Haber are very close to one another. Haber, though, is just behind. Haber came in a couple of laps ago. There he is. The undercut nearly works for the driver who was in 4th place. However, he's just come out. Sorry, the driver who was in 2nd place has come out in front of him. So not quite working out for Harley Haber right there.
No, but he's going to have the benefit of those fresh, slightly heated tyres, going to have good grip available to him while Ross is bringing that car back up to temperature. So if Haber is to strike, it's going to need to be now. He's closing in nicely through turn 7, loses a little bit of top on exit space there, but we'll be able to get back through as our race leader now jumps in the lane along with Jack Boyd. That'll leave Jamie Mackey still out on the circuit, but Haber potentially in for a run here, not quite going to have the legs at top speed into 10, closes that gap down again on the brakes though.
That was pretty much no gain for him. Was there down the stretch? Maybe Haber's running a bit more drag on that car. So where is... Well, Scott should be ahead of these guys. There he is. Yep, he's going to be clear. Right at the end of the pit lane for him. Always a very tricky pit lane exit. They're pretty close, second and third, but yeah, nowhere near to that changing places. They are ahead of Sutton. So this is going to be, yeah, the second and third, I think, when the pit stops work out. McKee, of course, will have fresher tyres, however, to come back later on. Jack Boyd, though, behind Sam Sutton. So Boyd, who was in third place before the pit stops, he is going to be in fifth place, I think, now. He's been undercut by both Haber and Sutton. Haber was fully expected, to be fair, but Sutton, that'll be a little bit disappointing for him, and it's going to be tricky to get past Sutton. Now, he's got to clear him very quickly, otherwise Haber might be able to pull away. Yeah,
but that being said, Sam's not going to be an easy driver to get past. Very competent in these cars, knows how to get the elbows out, and he will be a very tough competitor to get through. Jack Wittes also in the lane for his one and only stop. Boyd with a big run down into 10, gets the nose well ahead, and that was a pretty easy pass, all said and done at the end of the day. But Sam's going to look for the undercut as they run up over the hill. He's got the nose just ahead. Can he pull this off into 12?
Yeah, just backing out of it. So I think that was a wise decision there from Sutton. I don't think he was going to keep him behind for too much longer with the 4-lap fresher tyres. And probably thinking that he could still get a top 5 out of this Sutton, which would be a good result considering he started lower than that on the grid. Midsdale getting overtaken by Albert. McKee staying out, and Linsell as well. He was in 6th place, was Linsell, and best of the rest earlier on. McKnight as well, he had an off earlier on in the race, and at turn 2, he's still going. We're getting, we're beyond halfway, so this is the point in the race where you usually see the last few drivers come into the pits, and here is McKee. Tricky, I said tricky pit exit earlier on, it's a tricky pit entry as well. Very easy to go off the track and potentially end up in the wall. Tricky to get down to the pit lane speed as well. Linsell coming into the pits as well then. And so, Knight might lead a lap here, if he so chooses. I think he'll probably come into the pits as well, as here he comes. So James Scott will retake the lead now after his early pit stop.
Yeah, re-inherits the lead quite nicely. If anything, though, it has brought Ross a little closer. But look how far, though, Haber has fallen off the back of Jordan Ross already. That gap, only a lap ago, they were nose to tail, and we're already seeing about a 1.5 second difference there. You can just see in the lap times where he's lost it over those last few laps. So it hasn't really worked for Haber. Those tyres potentially starting to struggle. We are on lap 20 with another 17 still in the bag to go. So he's got a long way to go, and there's every potential now that he could fall back into the clutches of Jack Boyd and Sam Sutton.
It's going track position, this strategy for Haber, but then he lost track position anyway in the first stint. So, and now it's on equal tyres. Now that he's got older tyres, it's going to be really tricky to keep Jack Boyd behind him. He was 0.4 of a second faster, 2.5 seconds. So Boyd will catch up. I don't think there's too much doubt about that with 4-lap fresher tyres. No, not quite sure if this is going to work out for Haber right now. Of course, you can check out the tyre strategies from all the drivers in the live timing link in the description. It lets you know when the drivers came into the pits, which is very useful stuff. So you certainly get that up on another monitor, or maybe on your phone or tablet. Very useful that. There is the race leader James Scott with a 2.5 second lead. And let's take a little bit more out on this lap. Scott actually with a slow lap time there. Very slow lap time. That is He's still pretty slow there. Oh no, 3 seconds now. 21.7, I guess it's not that bad. Ross with a 21.8. I don't know if I'm being stupid or not, but this seems pretty slow, doesn't it? Ah, here's the pace car. There you go. That explains it. I was like, what? Why are they going so slow? They're all going slow. No, there's a pace car. For we're not quite sure why. Unfortunately, that didn't come up on our screen, but that will take the field. Oh, I'm glad I'm not going mad.
No, and I think that car that is stationary is actually going to be the car Daniel Misdale, car 41, or sorry, the car in 41st position. So the 073, very slow. Out on track, looks to be quite stationary. So this will be an interesting one. It's going to really condense this field. Obviously, you can see Matt Morris out of position there in between our race leader and second place, and he's not going to want to get caught up in this on the restart. But it's going to be very interesting to see the field being tightly compressed, and just going to be tricky to see for Scott what he's able to do on the restart. For those interested to know, the restart zone here starts at the exit of turn 12. We're going to come back and check out what happened here with Misdale. You can see him running through 10. The car looking pretty good. And they'll actually hit the car already on its roof. And very unfortunate there. Comes over fully blind. And yeah, that's a big hit for him.
Could it have been Ritsu? Who's in the pits at the moment? No, Ritsu was a lot further up.
I think
maybe
potentially that might have been Ruben Goodall involved in that. Actually, we're just checking out Jack Wittes going through. Actually, it's the two teammates coming together. Wittes then, gets the EXG car, hits the outside wall, ends up on the roof, and then gets fair collected by Goodall there coming through.
Yeah, so once again another angle with getting a hit round there was Wittes. That's a shame because he was running in the top 10 early on. Was Wittes. Was going to be one of his best results of the season, I believe. And getting absolutely shoved there by his own teammate, by Misdale. And so that's going to be the end of their days. Perhaps. I think once you tow back to the pits, I'm not sure if you're allowed back on circuit. Is that a rule, Daniel? I might be confusing this with another series.
Yeah, I'm just scouring through the book at the moment. I think for these guys, there is the opportunity to get back underway, but I'll just confirm and come back to you on.
Mark Samuel letting us know Holzer leads lap. Absolutely. There's no denying this. Always love these races where the pace car leads a few laps. Also love it when the pace car completes more laps than some of the drivers as well. He scampers off though. Remember the GTD car is faster than these supercars, so it's not exactly tricky for Scott to back off. He is leaving a massive gap there. He can pretty much go now. I don't think he will do because he's still got pretty much half the lap remaining. But he's going to continue with this, and this is really going to cool down the tyres. What can Jordan Ross do from second place? Haber's going to be potentially a sitting duck. Watch out for McKee in fifth. He's got the freshest tyres out of anyone on this field. He's only got 3-lap old tyres compared to Haber's 10-lap old tyres, or 9-lap old tyres, sorry. Here is Scott then. When will he put his foot down? Maybe halfway through the chicane might be his best option. But the tyres are going to be cool. Watch out for incidents on this restart. About to get lap 23 of this race going. Scott still holding on. Now he puts his foot down. And we are back racing in the Acuta AOSC Super Series. With James Scott leading the way, Ross in second place, Haber already under pressure in third. He's in fact a little bit behind some back markers, so he's going to have to try to make his way through there. Boyd in fourth, McKee in fifth, as they execute the S's for the first time. The second place man there is that Matt Morris. Yeah, Matt Morris then is second in the train, so he's a little bit of a tricky position here. It's actually Ross there, third in line, but second place on the field. There we are. Morris in a little bit in amongst these guys, holding his own, safe to say, but I imagine he's going to have to let them all pass very soon.
Yeah, and he actually gets a really weird run there through 6 and 7 and sits up high and wide just to let the guys through. So good awareness there. He's going to have to be careful though. He's got Boyd and Mackie coming through just behind, and definitely definitely not going to want to get caught up in their battle as it progresses through. You can see the little light splashing for Boyd. And will this be the move for Mackie down the inside? Not quite close enough. Taliancic in the background, very wide on his teammate, and just going defensive against one of the Mark 1 cars there.
I think Freya may have recently got past Stokes, or maybe that was Freya defending from Stokes. Both of them have had very good races, 6th and 7th at the moment. Gilliam on the back of those guys as well. This is really good for Gilliam, this safety car, after dropping down many places earlier on in the race. But you can see a train now forming up behind Tom Freya. Lots of drivers right behind him. Albert losing a place to Sutton right there. He's up into 15th. And they've also got McMullen as well ahead of them, up into 13th place McMullen. So plenty of changes, which I hadn't quite noticed, but yeah, a lot of drivers really gaining playing places. Tony Atchich up into 9th, of course. Yeah, Latter up into 12th, McMullen in 13th, but starting down 8 places now into 15th.
Yeah, it didn't work out very well for him after that pit stop. This battle over 4th position still going on. Boyd, close as he's been at the moment, on the back, with Mackie, on the back of him, and Mackie down the inside, big run, just doesn't have the braking performance in that car to get that move completed. Gonna have a look for the crisscross on the exit. Stokes getting a run on Gilliam, and Taliancic's going to try and sneak through as well.
So I think Gilliam, Gilliam was ahead of Taliancic anyway, wasn't he? So that was Gilliam trying to get past Stokes, and Stokes was right on the tail of Freya just a moment ago, but not anymore. Only a matter of time, surely, for Gilliam, but it's a bit of content that's not going to help you. Straight line performance, that's almost the quarter panel. Boyd and McKee battling hard, and they're losing touch right now to Haver. McKee, remember, with really fresh tyres, came in on lap 19 compared to Boyd on lap 17. Haber came in on lap 13, but he's just at the first lap of the race. Remarkable pace there from Harley Haver. That is probably showing his talent. I imagine he is going to drop back into the clutches of the drivers behind, but this pace car for Haver seems to warm up the tyres a bit quicker, and he's really keeping Ross very honest at the moment. McKee, though, in the background, he's going to be very close to Boyd once again into 10.
Yeah, and our top 3 in the championship continuing on, top 3 further on. Just behind him, you just see in the back of shot, Mackie again thinks about a move down into 10, not going to get that done, but Haber definitely coming there. A little further back, Briggs all over the back of Sean Linsell in the Mach 1 Esports car.
Oh, and off.
And we've got a rotation. That's Nick Coulson, goes around on the exit of 10A.
Was in 14th place. I think Coulson was having a good race, but he juts now to 29th with the field all bunched up after that pace car a few laps ago. Here we are. He was going defensive. Was that a touch? I guess it was.
I think he's done that all on his own there, just dragging the brakes on the way in. Here's another look at it just to see whether there's a car involved. Goes down in the braking zone nice and easy, and it just rotates all on its own. Maybe as slightest a touch from the Commodore on the way through, but that was a very awkward position there for him on the exit. Lucky not to be collected by anyone else. Briggs and Linsell still going over 10th position. Just in front of them, we've got Taliancic trying to get through the lap down. Matt Morris ahead. McMullen right in behind all this lot as well. So for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all starting to go off. Boyd and Mackie again at it on the run down into 10, and I think we're going to see Mackie now get that move done. Gets to the inside of 10B and should have the nice drive off the exit there to take that spot once and for all.
Great move there from Mackie, but Boyd is not giving up. He can't get his car marginally alongside, and Mackie finally does get past. Now that these guys are going to work together, they should be able to catch up to the drivers ahead. I wonder if they've missed their chance. We've only got 10 more laps to go. It's going to be tricky for them to just catch up to Haber with a 3-second gap now. These guys could be the fastest drivers out on circuit with the edge of their tyres, but they've been battling so much. And look at that as well. Ross under pressure from Haber. Just behind these guys then, Stokes and Gilliam. Stokes doing a great job of keeping behind Gilliam. And now he might have a go at Freya, who has dropped back into the clutches of these drivers. Must have been a poor last lap for Freya. They're making contact. Gilliam trying to get past defensive on the inside for Freya. Gilliam gets his car alongside Stokes. And now they are going to be side by side. Who's going to get the slipstream though? From Freya, who has a big part to play in this duel. But I think it's going to become a trio again, as once again this straight so long, even with the relatively little slipstream effect you get in these supercars, allows him to get alongside Carl Stokes down the inside of Freya. We saw this a few laps ago after the restart, but Freya is holding strong. He has the inside for the final corner, moving on to lap 29 of 36, and he stays ahead again. Gilliam can't benefit from this, and Talyancic now, despite those old tyres for Talyancic, very much with these guys. We've got McMullen as well defending from Lindsell in the background. This is, whoa, what a train this is.
Yeah, it's all heating up now. Talyancic and Gilliam both running that same tyre strategy. They came in just before. Briggs now on the back of Talyancic, thinks about a move on the run down through the S's. You're not going to get a pass done right there, but looking at very, very close. You can just see there the pit stop strategy of where everyone's come in, and in this little battle, Briggs probably the best placed at the moment. 3 laps less on his tyres. Likewise, Stokes just ahead of these guys as well, but Talyancic and Gilliam going to start to struggle a little bit now.
Yeah, they might be the two drivers who are going to be struggling the most to keep the others behind. It looks like Sophia's actually been able to break that draft a little bit now, but I mean, we've said that before, and then he just needs to drop back again. 21.5, that's 2 seconds slower, over 2 seconds slower than the race leaders on that last lap for Sophia. Just really struggling despite the fact that his tyres aren't that old. And once again, that gap dropping within a couple of corners. And Stokes will be back on him. Stokes knows if he can pass Freya, that might be a comfortable 6th place to the end of the race, because you'd back him to pull away and for Freya to hold up the likes of Gilliam. But well, he's making a couple of mistakes is Freya, but not enough to yield track position at the moment. This battle going back to Sam Sutton. Sean Lindsell in 13th place at the moment. Sutton in 9th. He was up as high as 6th place, I think, was Lindsell. He was doing really well earlier on. But must have lost out during the pit stops. Did come into the pits pretty late, but yeah, strange situation for him. And yeah, he's back in 13th place.
Yeah, and that last lap for him too, just a little bit struggling as well, around a second slower than the guys around him. So a little bit of work for him to do. You can just see there, Sam Sutton finally gets past Matt Morris, closes up on the back of Mullen for the run down the long straight. Potential for another move here. Just in front of them, we've got Briggs and Talyancic. Gilliam and Stokes still going after Freya, so it's all happening down in the lower orders here. And just watching Sam Sutton not quite able to get the car done, so fire down in through 10 for another time. Coming up to just 7 laps to go for these drivers, and plenty of opportunities still left in the circuit to get moves done.
Alton leads Scott with a 1.3 second lead. He hasn't been dominant by any means since the pace car. If anything, it's been closer. His pace to Ross's ever since the pace car was lost half a tenth of a second in that last tour. Did the race leader, the championship leader. Haber still very close to Ross, as Talyancic, I think, has been overtaken by Briggs. Briggs moves up into 9th place with those 3-lap fresher tyres. So well done to him. But there is Ross under pressure from Haber, McKee and Boyd, not catching these guys fast enough. They battled too much earlier on. Despite those special tyres, they are not making much progress at the moment in 4th and 5th. Freya still leading that chain in 6th. And then it's Gilliam, Briggs and McMullen. In fact, Talyancic now drops down to 12th place. He's lost 3 places on this lap, has McMullen to Briggs, he's lost 3 places, has Talyancic to Briggs, McMullen and Sutton. And so not working well at the moment for Michael.
No, a little bit of a struggle there. We're going to go back and just see if we can watch what's unfolded here, because you can see Italiancic early on in the piece, this is quite a few laps ago, just drifting very wide for his teammate Lex Gilliam through, and then this started the world of trouble for him. So falling down the order, that passed pretty easy, not too much in it there.
Yeah, I think it was a few laps later then. This was just after the pace cut, and then might find out what happened to him more recently. Yeah, here we are on back live pictures, and yeah, so he drops back to 12th place. Tricky for Italiancic. Ironic that the one race Italiancic comes into the pits early. We have a pace car, which really hurts him. But if he stayed out a bit longer, I think that would have probably benefited him. But what can you do? Albert in 18th place. He's been moving up, I think, after a bit of a tricky start. In that 18th place. Brian Borg, I haven't seen him all day, I swear. Started a lowly 30th, but up into the top 19 now. And Albert might be able to get past Latza into turn 10. And that was a pretty simple for him. A little bit of a squeeze from Latza. He came in on lap 15. So not awful tyres for him, means he's going to lose another place here. Offline. And Borg now moves ahead. Reece Keane will be the next, I think, to attempt a move. There goes Keane, and well, it doesn't seem as though Latza knows when he's beaten, and well, that's really cost him badly. He's dropped way further down. Could have lost one place there, but instead he's lost 3 or 4.
Yeah, we were almost seeing Keane just getting into the back of Brian Borg as well. I thought that was going to rotate the Brian Borg car there over turn number 3 there. It didn't happen. They all settled back into line, but the DPR car's starting to work their way back through. Reece Keane and Andrew Dyson coming on pretty nicely. Christian Smart in the Gone Road Motorsport car now up into the 20th spot. And then a few of the guys a little further back, Rob Bowden, Ken Latta, Jacob Knight, starting to close in on this train as well. So certainly going to start increasing in the not too distant future. Shay Thompson's got mirrors full of Greg Sharp and Damien Johnston getting involved in this fight also.
Andrew Gilliam, by the way, has got past Carl Stokes. He's up into 7th place. There he is. And yes, so Stokes drops down 1 to 8th. Fear, we are pulling away once again. 1.5 seconds now. Fear's got as an advantage in 6th place. This battle was a lot closer a few moments ago, but yeah, has separated now. Briggs will be next on Stokes, although I'm not sure if that move will happen with less than 4 laps to go. Guess we should go back to that big battle with Borg and Keane, and Dyson and Smart. Here they are.
It looks like Borg's been able to just extend a fraction of an advantage over Keane, so they've worked their way down through to turn 5. Gets the car out quite nicely, riding the exit really well. Just behind Dyson, not close enough for a move on his teammate. Everyone else settling into a pretty decent rhythm. We may potentially see Christian Smart, if he can get a nice run here, as he closes right up on the back of Dyson. Potential for a run down the hill into the braking zone at 10. But Borg doing a good job. The pace in that car starting to come back a little bit to him. He's going after Burwell, but just in front. You just see him getting out of the shot there. But pace in that Borg car not looking too bad right now.
Here comes Keane. Sorry, this is Keane losing out, and he's going to lose 2 places. Strange line there from Keane. Left it so open for Dyson and Smart. Just very much. Thank you very much. I'll take that. And looks as though Keane might lose more places now to Latza. He's moving back up. Is Ken. Bowden and Knight, Bird, Thompson not quite onto the back of these drivers yet. 1.3 seconds back, but lapping quite a bit faster. There was the car number 9. Yeah, pretty much matched them. But I think we'll probably be on the back of them by the end of this race with the fights that we're expecting from this group of cars. McKee not pulling away from Boyd. It's been a disappointing end from these two. I don't know why they haven't got the pace, because we saw earlier on was so much faster than Haber. They were really catching up by about half a second a lap on Haber, but Haber's been so quick in this final stint despite those older tyres. These guys just not quite with that speed over Haber recently. But yeah, credit to Harley, to be honest, because he was struggling in the first half of the race. He was struggling after the pit stops, but since the pace guy, he's been much more himself.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Haber's had a bit of a tweak of the tyre pressures for the incoming set, and that's just worked to a good advantage for him, because the pace in that car right now is still very consistent. Last time by a 19.49, it was actually second quickest out of our top three, so a little bit more pace advantage than Ross at the moment, just struggling to be able to utilise it to its full advantage. But the fight for these two is still going to continue on. 2 laps left on the books, and 10 more opportunities for him to get that positional change done if he can get it up close enough. And a nice run down through 7, good exit, no wheel spin there. But you just see the little advantage that Ross gets on that run out. A little bit more mid-corner speed is going to help him here, but Haber's definitely going to be quick to beat under the brakes.
Poor lap for Gilliam. He's dropped from 7th place down to 10th. He seems to lose all those places in a matter of seconds. So back down is Gilliam, trying to come back at Sutton there at the moment. Haber has a big slide coming out of the chicane. Yeah, Gilliam really close to Sutton right now and does move up into 9th place as we move on to the last lap of this event. There's the Pursuit Sim Racing driver. Actually getting back with these guys is McMullen. Great drive for McMullen this week. He's up into 11th place. Wasn't doing a whole lot in the first half of the race, but been really good in the second half. Tainich just not with the grip to battle with these drivers, whilst his teammate Freer pulls away further up the road. Looks as though Freer's going to be the top Pursuit Sim Racing driver, I believe, today, which he'll be very pleased with. Always a good competition between those guys. But yeah, here is James Scott. After the first few rounds, we didn't think Scott could get a whole lot better. But dare I say, I think he has got it better, because we had a few rounds at, Summit Point where Haber pretty much dominated that round. We've had a few rounds since then as well. But, Scott has really upped his level at last time out at Phillip Island. Maybe that 1 week break before Phillip Islands really helped him out, because there was a dominant win back then, and it's going to be a dominant win today as well. James Scott for ERT rounds the final corner, and he wins round 12 of the Acuta AOSC Super Series. Wins at Road Atlanta. Here is Sutton. Oh, that's very slow for Gilliam. Has he got a slowdown or something? Oh, nearly contact right at the end, and Gilliam finishes in 9th place. McMullen couldn't quite benefit from that one. Ross and Haber round out the podium. There is Albert. He crosses the line. Not going to be much of that car left. Plenty of drivers spinning right at the end. You may as well. The tyres will be pretty aged, it must be said. Bennett, can he get past Jones right at the end? These are the final few drivers. Midsdale's still going to Ben 37th place despite that massive crash, which launched the safety car and launched him as well up into the air. But no changes further down the order. Another fantastic race there, Daniel. It looked as though there could be quite a bit of change right at the end, especially for those top 3 under pressure from the drivers behind, but they just put in some superb lap times towards the end of that race. And yeah, it's another Scott, Ross, Haber podium. These guys really establishing themselves as some of the best drivers in this series.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really controlled race by Scott out front. Did everything he needed to do, kept the pace in that car, and we weren't too sure off the first qualifying session how we would do, because the pace was a little bit down on what we were seeing from a few of the other guys, but he strung it all together, got a very solid win. Likewise, Haber and Ross, both of those drivers come up quite a few spots in the likes of Haber, up 5 spots from where he started. So really good run, and again, top 3 in that championship, still showing their class through. I mean, take nothing away from everyone else. We saw some fantastic battles throughout the course of this night, up and down throughout the field, some very big movers, a couple of big incidents. We got to see the safety car out again for another lap, which was great to see. But all in all, it was a fantastic run, and it's shaping up to be a spectacular finish for this championship.
Definitely. So I believe all the drivers are across the line, and we are going to be able to take you through your finishing order then for this round 12 of the championship at Road Atlanta. Best that we block the view of the pit lane. I don't know what was going on there. James Scott wins 2 1/4 seconds clear of Jordan Ross, but he always had control of the race. It was a great start as well. It's got great qualifying. Another great round for him. John Ross in second place. That's a really good result for him. Helps his chances of second place in the championship. Harley Haber, 8th place on the grid, but got up to 3rd pretty much by the end of the first lap. And held on to it from there with a very early pit stop. He finishes in 3rd. Then it's James McKee and Jack Boyd in 4th and 5th. Tom Freer in 6th. Then it's Carl Stokes, Adam Briggs in 8th, as you can now see the teams for all the drivers. Andrew Gilliam in 9th. Sam Sutton rounds out the top 10. By the way, Gilliam up in 3rd place at 1 point, starting on the front row of the grid. What could have been for him today? Mullen McMullen, great drive to finish in 11th. There was Michael Taliancic with that early stop. Ross Rizzo, Sean Linsell. Shame for him. Really should have been a top 10 for Linsell. Jamie McKnight was in 15th. Then Jamie Stovall, Bo Albert, Brian Borg in 18th. Then it was Andrew Dyson, Christian Smart, Reese Keane, Kenneth Latter, Rob Bowden, Jacob Knight, Ian Bird, Greg Sharp, Damien Johnston, Shay Thompson, Craig Anspach, Josh Morgan, Stephen Varga, Craig Jones, Jet Bennett, Phil Piggott, Scott Gamble, Matt Morris, Daniel Misdale, and then the retirees, Nick Coulson, Brady Mayers, Jack Widdus, Bradley Ritu, Scott O'Keefe, Blake Delaney, Ruben Goodall, and Stuart Crawford. Nick also in the pace car also did a few laps. That's just the 3 of them to control the order when we had a little bit of an incident. So, the interviews then for this round 12 of the Acuta AOSC Super Series. And the first driver we're going to have a chat with, it's going to be our race winner, James Scott, who we rudely interrupt. Apologies, James. But that was another great result for you. Let's start with qualifying, because once again, it was an awesome qualifying. It went to you a couple of times. It went to Gilliam a couple of times, but in the end, you just about managed to take pole. How good was that lap?
Yeah, I didn't get off to the session off to a great start. Didn't get my first 2 laps. I got an off track, so that's not far from ideal. But I was able to get it in. I think it was on my 3rd lap. I get a really good lap in, which put me to the top. And then I improved twice after that. Obviously, in between the second last and last one, Andrew did a great lap and got up there. But luckily I was able to get him just with my last attempt.
Yeah, it was a big lap, certainly, right there. And then off the race start, just seemed quite comfortable in that whole first stint, just edging out that gap. Jordan was keeping you honest for a while, but it seemed like once you broke that draft, there was no coming back.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened. Got a pretty decent start. Was able to be unchallenged into turn 1, which is obviously great. Otherwise, you might end up out in the grass. But yeah, I was able to hold on to the lead, and yeah, once I broke that draft, I think Jordan made a few just little errors. I was able to pull away quite comfortably, and it was pretty much just going to be pit 1 lap after what he did to cover any undercut off. But then obviously the safety car made it a bit interesting.
Yeah, that looked pretty tricky. I wanted to ask you about how on the pace car restart, you started going slowly very early on. I was just thinking, how were the tyres on that restart? Because you had a lot of cooling off whilst you were kind of slowing the field for about half a minute.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a idea I had under safety car. I've sort of worked out that I was a bit better on cooler tyres, so I realised that it'd be the same for everyone. So I'd play it a bit to my advantage and slow the field up a bit and make sure everyone had cold tyres and able to get a gap.
So next time we head to Imola, it's going to be another one of the team races. recently we've seen some really strong performance from United Sim Sports in particular. When it comes to these team races, also Pursuits have been very strong recently. How are you fancying your chances around that Imola track?
Yeah, obviously, Harley and Forzen are a formidable combination. They've really got some good pace, both drivers, so they'll be very hard to beat. But I'm sure if I can put in some laps and get up amongst it, we can take it to them.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for that one, James. Thanks for having a chat with us. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Obviously, all the boys at Evolution Racing Team, the Apex Discord, Apex Broadcasting for putting on a great show, and obviously all the AOSC admin.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, James, and well, best of luck for next week.
Thanks, boys.
So that was your race winner for state, Evolution Racing Team's James Scott, and I think Daniel is standing by with Jordan Ross.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Jordan, congratulations, mate. Great run for yourself and Synergy Sim Racing. Come home in second tonight. Looked like a really solid race for yourself early on. Not maybe too hard, and then towards the back end, you found yourself in a really strong dogfight with Harley Haber.
Yeah, it was good night. We haven't done a lot of laps this week, and just sort of jumped in, and then our set was not too bad, not too far off the pace, but yeah, James had something more than me tonight, and Harley did really well at the end there to sort of, I think his tyres were 3 or 4 laps older than mine, so he did really well to sort of push me all the way to the end. My tyres were a little bit shot.
Yeah, well, we saw him come in, as you say, that 3 laps earlier, and where you both came out, it was almost neck and neck on the run through. Were you thinking you're going to have to be very cautious on covering off those moves early on, especially with him coming through on the slightly hotter tyres?
Yeah, I was sort of, I knew it's Harley, he's going to have a crack, and I thought that he would have a crack at the end of the straight, but I got a really good exit onto the straight, and I had a lap car in front of me, which towed me down the straight. So after that happened, you get that sort of couple of laps of Hollywood laps, and I was able to pull a gap on him, but then the safety car came out. So.
And just on the safety car, obviously you had a little bit of lap traffic just in front of yourself there. Was there any opportunities you were looking forward, trying to sneak the car up quicker and maybe use that to your advantage to extend that little bit of breathing room before Harley got to you, or just trying to sneak your way through as it came?
Mate, I was just caught napping on the start and on the restart, and James pulled a cheeky one on me there, Matt that was in front, he was doing nothing wrong. He was where he was on track, and I knew I couldn't pass him until after the line, but it didn't matter because he sort of went with James, and I probably dropped 100 metres behind them before I caught up and passed him coming on the straight.
Yeah, and then next week we're off to Imola, another one of the 650 Enduros, track we've seen you guys do very well at in previous seasons in the AOSC. Is it a track you're familiar or that you're fond of, and how do you think the chances are?
Mate, to be honest, I've always not liked the surface of that track, but I've gone all right there. Like, we got 6th there in Scops, Kyle and I last year, so we should be all right. I hope we're all right. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my mate back in the car, and I love the Enduro, so should be good.
Fantastic, John. We'll look forward to definitely catching up with you at that event. Congratulations again, second tonight. And before we let you go, was there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yeah, mate. Everyone at Synergy Sim Racing, CSR Fabrication, Speedway Shop, DGD Customs, JK Signs, and you guys over there at Apex.
Fantastic, mate. Well, again, congratulations, and we'll look forward to catching up with you potentially next week at Imola. And Sam, I believe you're stood alongside Harley Haber now.
Yes, Harley Haber, third place driver, has come to chat with us. Congratulations, Harley, on that result. But take us through that start. I mean, starting in 8th place, go up to 3rd within a lap and a bit. That looked pretty hectic, though.
Yeah, thanks, boys. It was a good result in the end. I was quite upset with myself qualifying down in eighth. It's just it's not good enough, and pretty much from there I was determined to get a good result. And obviously it's so important to stay clean as well. So it's pretty tricky, especially at this track. But a couple of good overtaking areas, and I think I got a little bit lucky there at the end with Gilliam losing it onto the straight. So a couple of gifts, but yeah, still worked hard through turn 1 and 2, went around outside of a few people, and obviously to come out third's not a bad effort after starting 8th.
Absolutely. In that first stint, you seem to be struggling a little bit. I think you got overtaken by Jack Boyd, and I was thinking after the pace car you were going to be in big trouble with your older tyres, but you had really good pace towards the end of the race. Are you able to kind of explain why you were so much stronger in the second half of the race compared to the first?
Yeah, mate, I wish I had an answer, because I was on actually older tyres and everyone around me, like you said, in the second stint. But I think probably our true pace was in the first stint there, and I thought Jack was going to be a bit quicker. So I actually let him go, which I thought I'd follow him up to the back of Jordan, but then he it swayed the other way where he ended up holding me up a little bit. So I think probably the pace in that first stint was a little bit blurred by the fact that I was then held up by Jack towards the end, hence why I went for the big undercut. And then kind of in the second stint with the toe on Jordan, and just, I don't know, I didn't want to let him go, or James for that matter. So I think, yeah, that kind of just helped everything along, and I think our pace towards the end there was actually quite decent.
In the championship now, you're sitting in third place. You still got a chance of beating James, I guess. You've won a few rounds so far this season. What are your aims towards the end of the season? Are you going for the title? Would you be quite happy with second place, or are you just looking for race wins now to finish off the season?
Yeah, mate, no one's ever happy with second place, but I think I'm going to buy James a holiday for a couple of months to go away so he can take a break, mate, because, look, it's a credit to him, mate. He's been quick week in, week out, and obviously he's got the big championship lead, which coming into the season, that was our target 100%, was to go for the championship, and we've been there or thereabouts, but due to whatever, I just haven't quite been able to execute it week in, week out like he has. So, mate, he's done a better job than I have, and that's showing on the scoreboard. So the aim now, I think, going out towards the end of the season, just get a few good results, keep doing laps in the car, keep working on the setup week in, week out, and see what we can come up with towards the end. But there's a couple of good rounds with Bathurst, I think's in there. We got Imola Enduro and stuff still going on. So any laps are good laps, I think.
Definitely. So yeah, looking forward to Imola. Believe United Esports won last time out in the last Enduro. So you kind of got very strong at Montreal as well. You were very strong as well. So would you say you're the favourites going into that round?
Yeah, really hard to say, mate. I think we're so evenly matched with I'd say ERT now, but James has moved on, so it's hard to say really where we're going to stand now that I think of it, because obviously James not being there, so it's, with his different partner or what's going to go on, I don't know how it's going to play out, mate, but we'll just focus on our thing, and that's what we always do. We rock up and just focus on ourselves, do what we can to be as quick as we can, and I know obviously we've got the team around us for the Enduro, so that I know the strategy is going to be on point. It's just a matter of getting us up to speed driver wise, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, yeah, congrats on that third place, Harley. Before we let you go, is there any shout-outs you'd like to give to anyone?
Yeah, so a major sponsor of Alberline. We got a couple other ones like Too Easy Finance, West End Mazda, and Parramatta Isuzu Ute. Obviously, a big thanks to the team as well for the opportunity to drive with them. Obviously, Chris Radicic for all the strategy calls today. He definitely saved me with that undercut. But and obviously, you guys in the combox as well, and everyone that puts on the event. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Harley, and best of luck next week at Imola.
Thanks, guys.
So that was Harley Haber, then driver for United Esports, finishing in third place, 5 places from his start. Before we say goodbye, certainly go through the sponsors for this championship. So, of course, Acuta Solutions, the title sponsor, providing rigging hardware and safety equipment. Next Level Racing, doing racing and flight cockpits. Abruzzi Racewear, doing custom sim and real life racewear. It's really cool. You have your name on it and everything. You can multi colours. Oh, it's really cool stuff. And made some simulations. We have virtual reality racing centres across Australia. Night Riders Designs, who are doing personal liveries for drivers and teams on iRacing, so certainly give them a call if you need to have a livery done for yourself. Wolf Graphics, doing personalised stickers and signs. Thank you very much for them for the stickers I got with my name on it. It was so cool. Blacklock Media, Sam Blacklock Media, doing the race highlight photos. Sure, there's going to be some great shots, which you can check out on the AOSC Facebook page later on. And Race Management Service for helping out with the live race control. Also, with setting up the servers, really useful stuff. Is that? So yeah, next up, Daniel, Imola, proper classic circuit, especially this weekend, of course. 26 years since that famous, that infamous weekend at Imola. Of course, a few changes to the circuit over the years, but it's still got a fantastic flow to it. The drivers still absolutely adore that place. It's an interesting place for the enduro to go to because it's quite a tight, twisty circuit. It's not the easiest to overtake around, but I think that would just make the enduro even better. It's going to be tricky to overtake, and we could have some real good race-long battles. A few safety cars as well with the nearby walls around that track.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a circuit that over the years, when AOSC was gone, there's been provided some fantastic racing. Really tricky to get the most out of these cars. It's a pretty unique circuit in the way that you've got to be very precise with keeping the car on the black stuff. You've got a lot of curb that you can utilise. There's a huge amount of undulation change. The big one down through turn 9 and 10 through the Aqua Minerale, really hard on these cars, trying to get them braked and turned at the same time. There's plenty of opportunity for these guys to potentially run out wide, and as you mentioned, we're likely to see a couple of incidents along the way. So it's going to be a circuit that's going to provide a lot for these drivers. 650 Ks, it's a huge time for them to think about what they want to do, their strategies, how they want to attack it. And we've seen it before. These 650s throw up some fantastic race results. They're pretty well like what we've seen tonight, now 150k enduro sprints, but for 650Ks, it's great. So all the guys are going to look forward to that. Second to last one before we drop in to Bathurst, and it's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely, it really should be a great round for him. I'm already looking forward to it. Hopefully, everyone else is looking forward to it as well. Thanks to the stewards, of course, as always, helping out, sorting out this league. Thanks to the drivers for making the action so great. Thanks for you for tuning in. If you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it. We'd super appreciate that. We'd also really appreciate if you could check out our other YouTube channel, Apex Racing TV. We have many more series just like this with our fantastic voices. So if you want to hear more of us, certainly do go to Apex Racing TV on YouTube, and also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all our social media. Of course, do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network as well, because there's loads more action. World Championship series. Also recommend checking out on tomorrow. We've got the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship. Once again, that will be me and Daniel taking you through that one. That's always a lot of fun. Quite similar series to this. That'll be Mid-Ohio for a 90-minute enduro event. Also, World GT will be on at I think 20 GMT on Monday. So recommend checking out that one, and there's loads of other series as well on the Esports Network. So certainly do subscribe, turn on your notifications, and you will not miss a beat. But for now, from me, from Daniel, and from Scott, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.